How about now? Do you get me again now? Is it working again? No, yes, alright. Okay, so it's working again. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna get basically very little, if not no game audio, because for some reason... Streaming is hard. The track that should be the game audio just does not want to work, basically. Uh... All right. Yeah. I've completely lost track of where we were at conversation wise, but yeah, still playing through the game, still playing Epic Mickey. Um, is there any questions anybody's got just about general stuff for the game? We expecting a sequel video for the sequel? Yes. I mean, at some point, I try to like to break them out, just because doing all of the same game in a row can get a little bit. Oh, did I? Oh no, I broke them out. Okay, we're good. Just because doing the same game multiple for multiple months is a pretty tiring, but it's definitely on the list to be a video sooner rather than later. It'll probably be next coming soon, not the one that's coming up next week, but like the one after that. I'll probably put it in there, see if people are want it sooner rather than later. But regardless, it's one we'll almost certainly do at some point, if only to cover kind of the downfall of Disney Interactive, because I think that's an interesting story worth telling, where Disney keeps starting up video game divisions and then closing video game divisions and then buying studios and then closing studios and then deciding to do things internally and then deciding to do things externally, and just kind of making a mess of every attempt they've ever done to be a player in the video game space. They've just never managed to be consistent with it, and that is definitely probably the most interesting chapter of it, because they were making a really big push around that time. They had that big Tron game they were hoping was going to do really well. There's that Pirates of the Caribbean like action RPG that was in production at that time that got canned, and just after Epic Mickey 2 didn't quite do the numbers they wanted. I think that probably Epic Mickey 2 is the big one, probably that Tron game as well. They just shut it all down again. Very strange time for that company in gaming. But yeah, that'll be a story to tell during that video, along with maybe playing the 3DS game. Oh God, no, 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 no. I I don't have the mental fortitude to play the countless hours of that game it would take to provide a proper opinion. There's other Disney stuff though that might get played. A game I want to go back to, because I remember renting it and enjoying it, but literally nothing else. I remember nothing specific about it when I was a kid. Is Donald Duck going quackers? Yeah, I do mean the Tron game that was tied into the movie. I for the life of me cannot remember the name of the game off the top of my head right now, but it was kind of treated like a side story into Legacy, where you were playing events going alongside the movie. It was big into that kind of transmedia phase where everything was supposed to tie into everything. No, not at World's End. So it was supposed to be an original Pirates story, where you were essentially playing into like Legend versus Outlaw. It had a moral system just like this, where you were a cursed pirate, and it was like a full-on like somewhat BioWarean action RPG was the idea. It sounded super cool. It was being made by Propaganda Games, the developers of Turok, the Turok remake. But yeah, it just like it got pretty far along. I remember previews in magazines. It seemed really, really cool, but then it just did not happen. It got completely shit canned when Disney started clamping down on their internal development. Though that World's game Ends game is apparently pretty decent as well. That's still playable on Steam. Like you can still buy that. I always keep going back to stuff on Steam, but that's just because like that's the place to go buy 7th gen games right now with the Xbox Live Store kind of closed down unless it's something that was back compatible on Xbox One. You're not playing it there, and obviously the PS3 store, theoretically, you can go buy things there. Theoretically, that store is operational. Functionally, not so much. Disney loves their moral choice stuff. I feel like a ton of their games and just ideas kind of have that. Though, obviously, yeah, maybe that is telling for the company as a whole. I think, I brought it up a bunch in the video, the idea of, like, conflicted nostalgia. I feel like Disney itself, as a company, has conflicted nostalgia for everything the company has made. Oh, more collectibles. I'm still disappointed that the all the concept art here is just purple lamp stuff. Like the purple lamps art is good, but yeah. So I did try to take a look into what the opinions were on this game when I was working on it, specifically on the remaster, and it seemed like most people were very angry about the art style. That was the kind of thought at review. And yeah, it just I think personally the art style is fine. I don't think it's certainly different from the original. It has a very different tone. It feels like it's doing something a little bit, you know, not antithetical, but like it's going for a different atmosphere. But it still works as long as you don't treat it like this is replacing the original game. It's perfectly fine. Yeah, are they just IP licensing at this point? I think they are. Like was saying earlier, they go back and forth between IP licensing and then doing things in house and buying developers. They've never been consistent with it. Oh, I so much prefer playing this version of the game. Just so much smoother to do literally anything. What's still left? There we go. Something I totally missed my first playthrough of this area. There's actually a bunch of stuff in this area here with the other rides that they don't necessarily do a great job of forecasting. Yeah, we're gonna skip the Guardians. I really dislike the whole Guardian Spirit pip system. That takeaway from the game, from the video, of just them removing the idea of Scrapper and Hero or Paladin Mickey or whatever it was, in exchange for just those spinners. Yeah, I just don't like it. Do I think they'll remake the second game? It's hard to say. I have heard this did not sell very well, which would track given it got a price drop not that long ago. It got a price drop a few months ago, which itself is only like a few months after launch, which is a real indicator that this sold very poorly. And as a result, I'm going to say Disney probably will not greenlight a remake of the sequel, which is a pity because it, as much as, like I said earlier, you can play that. It doesn't need a remake in the same way that this one did. It would have been nice to see them do it. Yeah, they went on PS Plus right away. I remember seeing it like heavily discounted really quickly. I think I bought this for like, even before that price drop, for only like 20-25 bucks maybe. Canadian, so God knows. Like even that, like way cheaper than for, real money, actual dollars. So yeah, they were very quickly like they saw that this game did not sell what they were expecting and just started slashing prices. So we'll see. Again, I would doubt a sequel. Again, I would doubt the sequel getting remade. I think the really interesting thing would be not just does that get remade, but do they do what SpongeBob got? Because it's that same team, it's that same, I'm assuming similar business ideology. I'm sure went into this as did the Battle for Bikini Bottom remake. Of if this had done well enough, would we have gotten Epic Mickey 3? Would we have gotten a new Epic Mickey game made by that team in the way that SpongeBob games started coming up again? But I don't think we'll ever know at this point. THQ announces a whole lot of stuff, and if I feel like if something was coming, we probably would have heard it. But you never know. I seem to recall they do a direct of sorts. THQ, whatever it's called. news thing every summer. I think they do one of those, yeah, like every summer, roughly in kind of July, June. So if they're gonna do more, we'll see it then. Yeah, they're a weird company. The whole Embracer connection, of course, and just like the quality of some of their remakes is a little suspect, but then they revive things like this, and they seem to actually give a crap about gaming history with just the level of care that goes into a lot of it. Yeah. I mean, Darksiders 4 is coming. That's in development. I don't know if they've set a release period yet, but it's at the point where, like, I was browsing Lurkit yesterday, because I might as well, and they've got, like, a Darksiders 4 campaign, so it's far enough along that they're starting to engage the marketing machine for that. So I wouldn't be surprised you see that by end of this year, early next. I'm going off nothing there. That's purely speculation, but be my guess. Yes, I'm well aware of how the ride pumps work. Thank you very much. Yeah, the tutorials in this game are a lot. They're actually way better in this version than they were in the original. The original, he is stopping you, like, for this first level or so, he is stopping you every 5 minutes. Your controller is just screaming at you because he's yelling out into the Wiimote to get you to listen to the most just inane, did you know the A button will let you jump? Ugh. That would be very cool. I need to play more of the Darksiders games. I like 1. I've played through 1 a few times, but every time I try to play 2, I don't know why. I kind of get like 7 hours in, and then I just fall off. I did play a little bit of the top-down one, Genesis, I think is what it was called, where you're Strife and War in that one? Not Strife. Whatever, the guy with the guns. The one with the guns in War. And that one was pretty cool. I thought that did some really interesting things. I didn't play any of 3, the one where you're playing with... Maybe, no, that's Strife, when she's got the whip. And yeah, I didn't play a ton of that one. Seemed interesting, but yeah, I just haven't had the chance to get into it. God knows, I've got a backlog about a mile long at this point. Just stuff for the channel. The list is insane. Yeah, I seem to remember the intro area being quite a bit in 2. Oh, you're talking about Darksiders 2. Yeah, yes, absolutely. That whole icy area, like, as you're doing that first bit is really cool, and then it very quickly evens out into very kind of basic Zelda-style stuff. And, I want to go back to it. I need to sit down and just, like, play it at some point. But, again, on the list, just like everything else. Yes. 3 is Fury. Okay, that's right. Thank you very much. Like I said, not the biggest Darksiders guy where I would remember all that stuff off the top of my head. That's fun. I seem to remember only one door opens in the Wii version. Oh, sorry, both doors open the Wii version rather than just the one. That's interesting. But yeah, THQ is a weird company. They've got a lot of cool stuff under the belt. The thing I'm probably most excited for from them at this point is for Titan Quest 2 to get finished up. I love ARPGs. It's just a good, like, quiet, slow-down game. Something I can just kind of mindlessly play at for a couple hours while I'm not working. And I really loved first Titan Quest. Love Grim Dawn, so I know this is a different team, but them kind of going back to that. Stylish action buff? Yeah. God, yeah, Titanfall 3. I am of the opinion, I see people asking for that all the time, begging EA for that. I feel the same way about Titanfall 3 that I do about a Fallout New Vegas 2, which is that you think you want that. You think you do, but those are moments in time. That team would only be able to make that game in that moment, and you can't just put them in the same room again and hope that they can make something just as good. It's just not going to happen. So I don't want Titanfall 3 because I know it won't live up to Titanfall 2. Yeah, Evil West is good. It's a pity that didn't. That was the vote that this game got picked out of. That we didn't cover that, but I'm thinking we'll do a coming soon coming soon. It's going to be a losers round. So a lot of the stuff that didn't get pushed through will kind of get thrown in there. And I think maybe Evil West will be a game that gets added to that one. Because I would like to jump into that. I remember quite enjoying that game. What am I doing here? Right, Gears. I do find they do a lot of this gear platforming where it's a lot of like paint the thing, wait, thin. I find it very boring. I don't want to, yeah. Yeah, I can see that. Wanting to kind of not have a New Vegas 2 just to explore more areas. I was a big, there was rumors. Oh geez, when was this? I think this was after Fallout 4, prior to 76 and all of that, where there were rumors that there was going to be in the vein of a New Vegas, a Fallout like New Orleans game. And I thought that was a super cool idea, and I'm really bummed that never happened. I mean, if you got recommendations, chuck them in the comments of any of my videos. I'm always watching. I'm always reading the comments, and they go on the list. Yeah, so I moved to the East Coast not too long after Fallout 4, and it was very interesting to kind of see the vibe of New England for real and in that game, and realize, yeah, they tried. Actually, no, do that. Hold on. Come on. Oh, let's get the paint caught on stuff. There we go. Fallout Texas. Yes, I would love a Fallout Texas game. I think if you were going to do a Fallout New Vegas 2, it should essentially be Fallout Southwest, essentially, where you start heading east into a broken up Legion area. You start seeing some Arizona. You get into a little bit of Texas, maybe get some New Mexico. I would love that. Like, I think you could do some really cool stuff with that. And yeah, absolutely, a Cult of Bucky's would be. I'm there for that. Absolutely. Just a big gas station complex, candles everywhere, bloody adorned images of. Is he a squirrel? He's a cute little animal. I don't know if he's supposed to be a squirrel or a groundhog or a chipmunk. That's true. And, he's cheap, too. Beaver. How weird for that to be a Texas thing. I say as a Canadian. I mean, your PC hates those games. They're made by Bethesda. Of course, your PC hates those games. They're buggy messes and always have been. I mean, God knows, it's been 16-odd years in Fallout New Vegas, even with a bunch of patches, still a temperamental beast. Oh. Does Fallout 76 work now? I refuse to go into it at this point, mostly just because I don't have time, and there are some design decisions I didn't love about it, but, like, I remember when I was playing that, not even just when it launched, but, like, a year or so after it launched, it just did not work. The servers would just cause everything to just completely slow the F down. Old World Blues DLC for, like, the Bucky's cult? Yeah, I could see that. I think that was the case for most people playing 76 when it launched and giving up. Yeah. Yeah. There's things about 76 I want to enjoy. The map is great. There are some lore ideas that are neat. I actually think just like the color palette, that like kind of soft orange like fall color palette really works for it. But man, just like as a game on a technical side, and also some of the writing, just oh, you're thinking about the way. Oh, yeah. So I never had that issue from that ran fine for me. For me, it was more when you just get into some bad areas in the main game where the world entities were too much. Basically, where they clearly didn't block things out enough. And definitely if you've got too many mods rolling, which at this point is the way to play Vegas, so, yeah. Doors, yes, thank you. So, like, you know, the way those maps are built is where they're all cells. So whether it's via a door or a cave entrance or whatever, yeah, not breaking things out cleanly cell-wise so that you've got, where the hell am I? I'm this side. So that the world space is not too complicated, basically, for what they're trying to render. Oh, actually, they got that thing open for me, and I didn't even think to go grab that. Let's go grab that collectible. Not that it really matters, but why not? Yeah, so that's always weird with this version of the game, is because there's sequences where it still wants you to be able to use the paint and thinner, but now we have a free camera. It does this, and it's smooth, but it feels real weird. It's mostly just for boss fights, and there it makes complete sense. Is there any game you want to go in blind that has a cult status? There's a few, honestly. I've got a bunch that are just sitting in my library because I really don't want to go in with a bias in mind. I'm trying to think if there's any big ones. Nothing is coming. Like, I've definitely got them, but I can't think of one off the top of my head. I'd have to go look at my list. There's something like 1,000 odd games on there. It's a lot to remember. Let me just look at my physical collection, see if there's anything in there that pops out. I mean, there's definitely some that we're gonna play that are that. Fracture one day will be played, and that is a game where I think I played the demo for it, maybe, but I never played the full game, and I'm curious to jump into that blind. Haze as well. I never played anything of Haze. I've got a copy of Haze sitting there waiting just so we can enjoy the game that you know, is a religion according to Korn. Like, we're going to do that at some point. That's a story that we need to continue. I will say this dash Mickey has in this version of the game does feel a little bit jank. It feels like something they kind of just like threw in last minute, where just the way he animates forward is so fast and so kind of like jittery, where it's just like, oh, that's a debug tool they just kind of threw in. Someone got tired of his slow ass walk speed. Yeah, we're gonna go get your logbook. Yeah, that's calling me like the Green Goblin mask. I got a few for that. The one that's really calling me like the Green Goblin mask, I have Ride to Hell installed and just waiting. Whispers to me every now and again of like, you know, if you make that video, people will watch it. You're gonna hate every minute of it, but you know people will watch it. One day, sitting there waiting. I don't have the DLC for it, which is one of the big things stalked me, and it's basically impossible to get. I've played through it before. Well, that's not a blind one. I've played through it before. I really don't want to subject myself to it again. Don't make yourself the sacrifice of the cult. We're potentially a little too far past that already. I actually do want... I say that, though. I do think there might be... I don't think Ride to Hell is a good game. I don't think there's any way it could be a good game. But I do wonder if going back to it... again, just keeping, like, the idea of what modern games are in mind and kind of what we're missing from those now, if maybe there is something retroactively charming about it. Yeah, that's on the list as well. I've got that put aside. I'd love to go into that and kind of talk about the weird evolution of Ninja Theory. Though that's also a story for the eventual DMC video. But yeah, Enslaved as a game I think is a really... I remember it being a really cool idea. I just remember it being ever so slightly off in execution. It's definitely one I want to go back to. Just kind of need me in the mood for an action game of that sort one day, basically. I'm for various reasons that will be revealed in the next coming soon video. I'm going to be making a lot more videos coming up, so with any luck, I will have more time to kind of dally into things that I'm just kind of interested in, rather than full-on just coming soons going forward. Come on, melt through. Oh, the boat's not thinking this time. That sinks in the original. Yeah, that list is getting nasty full. So, the gameplay is the only redeeming part of that. I don't hate the gameplay for the DMC. I don't like it as much as I like regular DMC gameplay, but I do think it has validity. I think the whole angel devil split thing works. I think the way the exploration via the weapons you're picking up, I think that's a really good idea, actually. And it's something regular DMC lacks, where it kind of gives what you're collecting more versatility. It's just the fucking vibe of that game that is very hard to go back to and deal with. It was a bit much at the time, and it's only gotten worse in my opinion. But yeah, it's an interesting one. There's definitely that game is just interesting because it's such a so emblematic of Capcom's Dark Age that really makes it kind of interesting. Like all of the bits of like how it was trying to change, the way it was appealing to people, the kind of developers it was picking up, just a lot of the gameplay theory in general for that game is so emblematic of Capcom at that time, for better and for worse, mostly worse. It's just a DMC. And let me know what it is. I'd be curious to see what it is, because I've got some other ones that are in similar veins of character action games coming out more recently from indie teams, and some are done really well, some less so, and it's very interesting to see that kind of style of gameplay approached by a smaller team, because they can really kind of put a signature on it in a way big teams just can't these days. I actually do want to go back over to that side, do I? No, I don't care. We're just going to go through this way. Games I don't want to play for the channel. Not firmly. I mean, generally, it has to have a hook. It has to have a hook to it, right? Like, it's got to have something about it that is kind of unique and interesting. I want a story there that I can tell. But Heartless and Dreadful, I will pick that up afterwards. But generally, the stuff I don't want to play is going to be just stuff that's very standard, or stuff that I just know I'm not going to enjoy. Like, I'm terrible at RTS games. It's a big blind spot in my gaming knowledge. I'm very shameful of that. But as a result, I would feel ill-equipped to properly review an RTS game. Because, well, I could review the art, and I could review the, whatever writing and presentation there is and all that. Like, the gameplay side of that, I just don't have enough skill, and I don't have enough knowledge to really break it down the way I would prefer. But yeah, it's all very much case by case. It just kind of does something stick out where I think I think there's something there I can grab. There's a story I can tell. There's something fun about it, a hook that gives me something to work with. Oop. These 2D levels, they've really grown on me. I definitely kind of did not say very positive things about them in the video, because I do think they are pretty, especially in the original, they're very, very simple. They're very, very rudimentary in design there as well. Just like the visuals for them in the original are so rough. That's why I compared it to like Little Big Planet custom levels. But they are just like, if you are here for Disney nostalgia, these are really the best hit of it. Just from, what they're doing visually, but also just like the way the levels follow the flow of those cartoons and everything. Those really kind of hit specific notes, I feel like, better than anything else. Oh, load times are slower than I remember. I guess questions for the chat. Are there any games you guys want to see me doing in streams like this? Because like I said, I'm hoping to do these every weekend. Just something to kind of keep some momentum going on the channel. And there's always so not always going to be a post-mortem. So I'm probably going to play some new stuff, some old stuff, weird stuff, kind of just whatever comes to mind. Definitely a good place to do a lot of the things I was originally going to do, like cult recommendations videos for and such, where, you know, games that are not fit for a full video, fighting games and things. Yeah, like just streaming for fun. H&D, fair enough. Yeah, it's all gonna be streaming for fun. Like I'm gonna be looking for kind of anything that makes sense to just cover over the weekends. So yeah, doesn't make sense to always be the games I've done videos on, especially if I'm trying to, you know, this is kind of me taking a break from the videos, honestly, and giving myself an excuse to not play Pokemon Pinball, but the sequel. Ooh, yeah, I could probably find that. Yeah, I love pinball. I mean, we'll do a pinball stream at one point because I'm an absolute sucker for video pinball, and I have thoughts. I have lots of thoughts about the current state of video pinball. So I'd love to do at least one, probably several pinball streams, not all together, of course, covering like the current stuff that Zen is putting out. I want to look at the emulation scene because there's like a pinball emulation scene that is bizarrely in depth, and I've never had the chance to actually dig into, and I want to see what that's about. And as well as some of the older stuff, like Pinball Arcade was a great virtual pinball collection that loved, but never managed to, but has sadly kind of fallen out of favor. Which one? Still H&D? Yeah, I mean, I will, I'll dig it up after the stream. With any luck, it's yeah, if it's cheap, I'll see if I can't pick it up. Go in the house. I can't remember if you could actually enter these houses in the original version. I feel like they didn't bother to model these, but I might be... No, when I went and did my B-roll, you could go into them. It's just something I never thought to do in the original because it doesn't really look like it. I did! So I have been to technically both versions of the Pinball Museum. I love Vegas. I've been there several times. When I went in 2017, it was still in its old building, which was in a strip mall closer to the university in Vegas. And I loved that version of the Pinball Museum. It was very dark. It was very quiet. It just had all the machines lined up. It was very much kind of like focused on like a reverence for pinball. And then when I went several years later, it was the new version where it's the giant building with the giant like 2-story letters pinball in the front of it at the south end of the strip. And while that version is bigger and it has more tables and like more arcade stuff, it's got a great variety of arcade stuff in that version, I do feel like it's a little less reverent. Like it doesn't feel as focused on kind of the history and preservation of pinball in the same way that the old version of the Pinball Museum did. The new one's fine. Like it's not bad. It's certainly it's better than nothing. I would much rather have that version of the Pinball Museum than no Pinball Museum at all. But yeah, the old one had a little bit more magic to it to me. I actually talked to the when I was there, I talked to the woman who's running it. She and the guy who used to run the old one, they run it together. And basically what had happened was she was telling me that she had gone into the original one and saw that it was like, you know, how cool the place was. And she's like, why don't you have more people in here? What's going, like, why is this place not a staple of Vegas tourism, basically? And he's just like, yeah, it's quiet, I guess. You know, maybe we'll get more people. And she's like, are you on social media at all? And he's just like, what's social media? At which point she then kind of like took over their Twitter and Twitter and Facebook and basically like revitalized the place, eventually getting them to a point where they could buy the new location and kind of turn it into the bigger thing it is now. Which is a cool story. Like, it's really great to see them getting more out of it. Like, for as much as I have, you know, emotional qualms, I guess, with the current version of the Pinball Museum, that it is a larger and more successful and, like, making money is far more important as far as I'm concerned. That's more money for preservation. That's more money to kind of keep those tables alive. Anything that kind of gets more people playing pinball, I'm happy with. But yeah, cool place. Definitely worth going to if you're in Vegas. It's super cheap too. Like it's just the cost of playing pinball. So go in there with $20, and you can get a whole crap ton of quarters and spend like 2-3 hours there just playing machines. It's great. Oh right, I need to talk to you. Are the village chief? You're the one, right? Yes, you're the one. I am partial to the Williams classics. That's really where my passions lie when it comes to pinball. I have put so many hours into Funhouse and Taxi. Taxi, I think Taxi is my favorite. All the old Williams stuff with the voice, with especially with like the really crunchy voice synthesis. Oh, just so much fun. We'll go this way as well, because we might as well fix up the thing. Yeah, I want to do it. Let me through. Let me through. There we go. Oh, but yeah, we'll do some pinball streams. Something else I want to do kind of for streams, because there's a lot of really good weird fighting games where I'm not like the biggest fighting game guy, but I certainly have an appreciation for the genre. But because of the way a fighting game works, doesn't really make a lot of sense for a full video. I don't know if there were plans. I certainly hope there were more. I know a lot of the original concept art had more characters in it, but I don't know if that was ever planned, because that original concept art was very much, as we talked about in the video, it was kind of there just to test the waters as far as what was acceptable. I don't know if there was ever ever any thoughts to have kind of that level of characters in the full version of the game. Any epic Mickey inspired indies. I mean, the big thing you're seeing right now, ever since Steamboat Willie went into public domain, is all of those like Steamboat Willie and Winnie the Pooh horror games, or kind of like we're being edgy with a Disney character games, which I kind of hate that trend. It feels edgy just for the sake of being edgy, but we're seeing those. There was the one that's like Bad Cheese, I think, was the Steamboat Willie one that came out recently. And there's a Winnie the Pooh one that came out not too long ago. I can't remember the name of. Yeah, I know exactly what... It's not what you're expecting here, and it's not what I would want either. I mean, the issue for that is just because of, licensing. Disney is not exactly gung-ho to give licenses for this kind of stuff to small teams. And from everything I've heard, so in reading some of the stuff Warren Spector said about development, he's been very careful and clear to never say kind of anything direct about what it was like working with Disney, but he's also very noticeably not said anything positive about his time working with Disney either. It very much kind of reads of like, yeah, Disney was, Disney to work with. It was it had its challenges, which just kind of tells me like, oh yeah, it was probably an absolute nightmare, and I imagine it was lots and lots and lots of tweaks and cuts and lots of meetings, probably. Just, dealing with any massive corporation, I feel like that's 60 to 80% of your time is unnecessary meetings. Actual 3D platforms with dark and cartoony aesthetic. So we're certainly getting more and more platformers. There's definitely been a couple that have done that. There's a few different levels in Hat in Time that certainly kind of hit that vibe. The train level in that, and then there's like a haunted house level in that really hit that. Not quite what you're referring to, but there is a game that's more kind of like supposed to be like a medieval ripoff called Pumpkin Jack that does that as well. That I remember being pretty decent. Any other ones I can think of offhand that kind of do like dark and cartoony aesthetic? Not off the top of my head. I'd have to go do a little research. But yeah, we're starting to see more of that. As more and more devs are kind of playing around with platformers and kind of higher quality platformers at that, we are seeing more attempts at that sort of thing. Oh, there we go. Oh, apparently I missed a film reel here. Nice. Grab that up. The one collectible in this game that actually freaking matters. Oh, I'm gonna miss that. Am I falling off the edge? No, we're fine. I mean, to be fair, I would say this game's dark aesthetic really only goes so far anyways. Like Bendy. Yeah, so that is actually something I cut out of the original video because I didn't have any. It was pure speculation, and I didn't feel like it was necessary to be in there. But when we get in at the end of the game, where there's all the shadow blood absorbed villagers that have been absorbed and are chasing you all zombified, I said that I bet that was an inspiration for the Bendy series because they do have that same kind of vibe to them of just this like inky monstrosities. But I have zero proof that that's the case at all. It would make sense timeline-wise. Those games all came out after this, and I feel like, you know, if you're making a game like Bendy, you probably are going to be the sort of person who would play Epic Mickey, but zero proof. Just feels right. But yeah, they did actually put out a Bendy game recently that was not a first-person game like the other ones were, but more of a oh god, what was it? Like the Lone Wolf game, Jack Wolf game, or something like that, where it's more of a, I want to say it's like a roguelike, almost like a top-down sort of thing. It's different. They were kind of trying different styles with that. I could see them maybe doing a platformer at some point, honestly. Oh, that's gonna be, yeah, that's, oh, come on. Ugh. No. I was testing my luck. I'm just gonna stand there? Okay. Let's see. That should be enough to spin it. Or is it only on and off the top one? Ah, whatever. It's just adjusting there. I really don't care. I do hate these gear puzzles. Not because they're difficult in any way, but just because they're slow. Everything moves a little bit too slow. Like would have actually been, yeah. Yeah, again, I could see if they would done one. Yeah, it would connect very well. I have not played those games. I kind of only have a vague idea of the stories in those, but it definitely would make sense. I do wonder if the audience they're courting would jump onto those. Tears of the Kingdom. Curious, what reminds you of Tears of the Kingdom about this particular game? Because it doesn't. I'm not saying I don't see it, but I'd be curious to know. But I don't quite know. Where's the steps up? There they are. Oh, the gears. Oh yeah, absolutely. The I don't want to say simple, but very kind of like blunt style of puzzle design. Yeah, it kind of gives that Zelda, specifically the Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild style of puzzles. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that 100%. Where's that treasure room he opened? Is it behind me? Probably behind me. Oh yeah, here it is. Oh no, that's where I came in. Okay. Does he not open a treasure room in this one? Oh no, it's off to the side here. That's right. Yeah. Just a lot of, not necessarily smoothly designed puzzles. Not that a puzzle should be quick and easy to solve, but I feel like once you kind of know what you're doing, a good puzzle gets out of its way once you've solved it. I'm still very disappointed by these badges as well. There's so much more they could have done with that whole system. Just making it more valuable, giving it some progression, or just even attaching, like, half the badges. I'm going to just pop into the pins section. Yes, pins, whatever. You can see there, like, 60 of the pins are It's just Mickey symbol in different grades. Like doing more of these kind of pins with them, or attaching them more to classic characters, or just giving some more vibrancy to that would have helped. Like there's so many places where they could have slipped in just a little bit more, and they didn't quite. Go fight the clock tower. Anything off the side here? No. I do think this clock tower boss. I really like it, but I think it sets up a bad precedent for the rest of the game because it's probably the most interesting boss visually and even mechanically, whereas the rest are pretty simple. Pete Tronic is probably the one that gets closest, but as we've discussed, at least in the Wii version, that is a nightmare to play, so. Nope. Oh, I guess I am supposed to go up there. Oh, am I supposed to do this? There we go. Why does that not go back down? There's more weight on there. Okay. Yes. And then if I remember correctly, you can sneak up here. Yeah. This is how they did... Oh, yeah. So the Mad Doctor one is weird. You don't have to hit the Mad Doctor with the blue paint. For that one, to get the paint ending for that world, it's really silly. You have to use all of your sketches in sequence. There's a bunch of pads to lay out. And if you do that, it will then send a ride car racing forward, and it breaks the machine. That is how you beat that world as a paint thing, despite not having to use paint at all, and again, technically being more destructive than the thinner way of beating it, which is just disabling the machine directly. I don't know where they thought that. I don't know how they thought that was a good idea. I don't know where that came from. It's just a very strange design choice for that whole boss. It feels like they didn't really know what to do with the Mad Doctor as a boss at all, so they just threw more Beetleworks at you. Yeah, this again. I love the look of this boss. I love the music for this very no, we're doing paint. Very corrupted version of the Small World theme. Very solid. Yep. Paint. I'm all out. You're about as good as you're gonna get, I think. Come on. I will say, not having the manual pointer control does make this fight a little bit harder, at least on the paint side. Certainly remember this being a little bit easier on the Wii with the pointer control. Oh. There's that one. Nope. Hey, there we go. And we're done. Off to Mean Street. Oh, he's floating on the hand there. Not that that geometry would have been easy to deal with, but yeah. I also do think, I mean, there's been a few comments I've talked about. I believe we talked about the moral systems of this game a little bit earlier, but the how rigidly this game forces you to either play good or bad, paint or thinner, is such a detriment to this design. in my mind. The fact that there's not really a good middle path, the middle path is just very kind of bland, is such a missed opportunity. Both on a mechanical level, like not it feels weird to have to restrict yourself from using paint if you're on a thinner run or vice versa. But also just on a narrative run, having Mickey be a bit more, you know, into the world, being forced to make choices would have really done a lot. Oh, well, I mean, we're going to see that in a second. I want to say they have them all in there. Because while Nintendo can be a bit salty about it, they did also work very heavily with Nintendo in promoting this remaster. It was announced at a Nintendo Direct, as I recall, and was kind of pitched as, like, Switch first, though it did come out on everything. And realistically, those games are published by Capcom anyways. They weren't published by Nintendo back in the day. So, I'm imagining Nintendo was just like, fine, you may have a SNES cart in your game if you must. Yeah. Now I want to go to get to Mickey Junk before we close off this stream. So let's rush through. Yeah, we'll skip that. God, the economy here. I guess I'm carrying over e-tickets from my last run, but even so, like, you get so many e-tickets in this version of the game. You are drowning in them. Yep, we're gonna go race Gilda. We're gonna go get our gear. Yeah. Go race the sepia tone cow lady, who really should be a proper character. Still, my biggest hang-up with this game is just how much asset reuse there is, and asset reuse in a way that actively makes the game, like, worse. Both in a narrative sense of, like, it feels like this should be an actual character, but also in a design sense of half the NPCs you need to talk to get quests and stuff look like this. They look just like this. And as a result, it's very hard to pick out at a glance, like, who merits my time? Who do I need to stop and actually chat with? There we go. Okay. That's an interesting selection to not be able to get into. I get this in Kingdom Hearts. Final Fantasy as well. Well, I guess that's a question for you then. Is it just modern Final Fantasy you can't get into? Because I can totally see that. Or is it also old Final Fantasy? There we go. Annie. Fair. I have a love-hate relationship with the series. There's some games there I absolutely adore, I grew up with, but then there's definitely been a lot of dalliances over the years that I can't do. I can't get into. I still need to try to finish 16. Which, not a bad game, but just also, meh. That's fair as well. I'm not a big horror game guy. I used to be more, when I was younger, but nowadays, maybe it's just as a parent, I've automatically started to kind of, like, not be as into horror stuff, especially anything, like, gory. I mean, not that the Resident Evil games were super gory back in the day, more so now. But yeah, I could never really get super into them. I love 4, but, like, 1 through 3, it was the controls, but it was also just, like, just didn't get into it. I certainly prefer the remakes, but even then, I haven't really managed. I've still only finished the 4 remake. I've certainly played some of the GameCube HD remake. I mean, they call it an HD remake on the GameCube. It wasn't technically HD there. But that version of Resident Evil 1, and I've certainly played a bunch of the Resident Evil 2 remake, but yeah, neither of them really did it for me. Yeah, tank controls are just so hard to get into. If you did not, like, get into them at the time. I mean, the only Resident Evil I think I love is 4. I think the only other one I probably played as much of is 8, and that's probably because it's closest to 4. But even there, like, you could just pull the baby section out of Resident Evil 8. then it would be fine. I don't like being powerless in games. So that aspect of it always really kind of pushes me off. I just don't find that fun. This ice cream shop sells like nothing, by the way. It sells health top-ups, which I didn't even talk about the video because there's like nothing here. It sells health top-ups, which those come out of the garbage. I think it has, yeah, it's got the photo filters, it's got some concept art, and it's got ice cream, which you will need for like one, technically 2 side quests. I got a little bit through 7. I need to go back to 7. I forget God Hand has an emulator. That's a video one day. I love God Hand. That is a game I've somehow managed to beat at one point. I just don't know if I could beat it again. I don't know if I have the reflexes I did when I beat it the first time. Get that, because the key's down there. But yeah, God Hand is a fantastic game. Horrifically underrated. Yeah, there's no flavors of ice cream. There's ice cream. Is it even cream flavored? It's pink, so it's probably strawberry. Apparently in Walt Disney World, you are eating strawberry ice cream. No ifs, ands, or buts. Or rather, the wasteland. I'm sorry. This is what makes it terrible. Ooh, Forastero. I will grab that along with the other one you recommended earlier. Go take a look. Because that's what I need. I need more games on the list. Be playing game. They will find me on my deathbed with a controller in hand at this point. And still at least 300 games in my Steam library listed unplayed. Yeah. You need power sparks. I will find them. I know where they are. Thank you. I grabbed the key, so there'll be one in here. Thank you. Fantastic. Like I said, keep throwing them in the comments. I read them all. I log them all. I have a big-ass spreadsheet that is very meticulously managed with all of that stuff on it. One of our supporter rewards, actually, is that spreadsheet, along with the Trello board that shows the progress of videos. Hulk Ultimate Destruction. Yeah, you might have suggested it, actually. Someone suggested it for a video. It's on the list. I played a whole bunch of that game way back in the day, and I want to go back to it. Like, I want to play that again. That is Radical Entertainment, I believe. Kind of at their best. I like Prototype quite a bit, but I feel like Prototype gets a little mired down in its attitude, whereas Hulk Ultimate Destruction is just like, it's just good, clean fun. Yeah, made by the same people who made Prototype. Radical Entertainment. I think it's Radical Entertainment. I can't quite remember. But yeah, they made Prototype, Prototype 2. They made that. I want to say, I might be wrong, they had some involvement with the licensed Incredible Hulk game that Sega published for the Incredible Hulk movie back in the day. Because that played very similarly and it had most of the same like abilities to it. Oh no, I gotta bring the power spark to what's-his-face. I didn't actually talk to him. Yeah, those games are solid. Certainly better than the Incredible Hulk game they made for the movie, which is not Ultimate Destruction. No, they're rebranded. Oh, that's interesting, because to my knowledge, they were dismantled after Prototype 2 did not do Prototype 2 things. EA pulled an EA and said, we bought this great studio. They didn't make us all of the money. Let's strip them for parts. So if they're reviving the label or people are getting back together for it, that would be pretty cool. Especially because I believe Prototype 1 doesn't run amazing currently, the version on Steam. I know that I think they put up PS4 and Xbox One versions of them not too long ago that run a little bit better, but yeah. Currently, if you want to go play those, it's a little bit rough. I'm gonna have to look into that though. Hopefully, that's not a free Radical situation like it was with Time Splitters and all that, where we think they're getting revived and then Embracer pulls an Embracer and they get shut down. I'm gonna have to go take a look. I will. That's first order of business for this stream is done. Because yeah, I would be very down for a Radical Entertainment revival. That kind of seems like maybe it's just the state of the industry right now, but that kind of seems like the play is old brands being revived and making a comeback in that way. Old developers kind of returning to their roots now that they've been through the corporate machine and are a little bit battered and worse for wear. I know there's a I haven't actually read the article, but I've seen pictures of it. There's a Vulture article that's going around right now with Will Wright talking about his new game, and just like the picture of him at the front of the article, he's just like got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, just like scowl on his face. He just looks like he is like battered and mad. And I can't blame him in the least. Argonaut Software got revived. I'm very curious to see what they're doing now, because they put up that they put up that Croc remaster on GOG, and then eventually on. I think it came to Steam. If not, it should be coming to Steam eventually. I know it started off as a GOG exclusive, but man, oh yeah, those are GameCube classics. Gale of Darkness, if you did not see, just got dropped on Nintendo Switch Online. So if you got a Switch 2, you can go play that again, which is great. Pikmin 1 and 2, though, yeah. All sorts of classics. I love Double Dash, too. That is probably my favorite Mario Kart game. I'm not the biggest Mario Kart guy in the first place, but there is something about Double Dash that just works for me, both visually and just like how it plays. That the way you're stashing power-ups and just kind of the balance of having multiple characters on a cart. I played so much Double Dash back in the day. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you can, you might as well. Switch the benefit of the Switch 2 Online, like the emulation's decent, but it's just a modern way to play it. If you don't have the disc, I mean, I feel like that one's kind of expensive, but yeah. And also, I mean, the Switch 2, like, I did buy one. I bought it with the money from the Bureau, actually, because that did all right. And that was mostly just like, I need to treat myself, and fuck it, I really want to play Donkey Kong Bonanza. I might as well pick that up. I'm not gonna say that was a good purchase. Yeah, the GameCube's hard to find. Like, if you got a Wii or a GameCube, just play the original version. Absolutely. Especially because I believe you can do get pretty decent AVI to HD converters these days. So if you don't have a CRT, make that work. And if you do have a CRT, even better. Because obviously, you know, just anything from that generation or older looks so much better on a CRT. I need to set mine up. I've got a CRT that's just kind of kicking around in the corner, but it weighs a ton, and I don't have a media stand that I feel confident putting it on. Yeah, if you guys, and then you're good to go. You got the retro setup, perfect. CRT, old console, that's all you need. What I'm going back to at this point in my life. I have not bought the Switch 2 is the only next gen system I've bought. I will not buy a PS5 or an Xbox Series. I have seen people confused by the red, white, and yellow at this point, just not getting RCA cables. What do you mean it's multiple plugs? And then it gets even worse if you showing them something even older where, what do you mean it's only got the yellow and the white? What do you mean it's only the two plugs? Why is it mono? Why is it mono sound for that? Because, yeah, yellow is video. Yeah, white and red are your audio. Oh. What am I doing? Right, I'm filling in the house. Back around the side. I do like that there is an actual house back here in the remaster. In the original, it's just like a skeleton. Yep, the red, white, and yellow. Or, if you were fancy back in the day, you had the S-Video jack, which I feel like nothing ever really used properly. Really used enough. But if you got that, that's when you were like, oh yeah. Like, yeah, I got this shit going on. Or the composite cables, which is basically like the RCA, but stepped up. Yeah, that was the best way to play like original PS2 was with the composite cable, because you just get like that's where you'd get the nice like 480 interlaced, and it would look as good as the PS2 could look. Which I love the PS2, but let's be honest, it's not that great. Well, with the default cables, with the composite, it looks about as good as you're going to get from a pre-HD system. I'll leave this. It's a fun cutscene. Go to Mickey Junk. God, the side quests, the ins and outs of this game, if you're doing the paint path, really are just kind of annoying. Of paint this guy's house and free this gremlin, then he wants you to go get his crap back from the phone. The phone wants you to go activate power boxes, and then you gotta go back to the phone to get the wrench to give the gremlin. Just ugh. Were there no RCA in the UK? No. That was always the standard. I remember even when I've seen like some PAL unit SNESs and stuff like that, they typically come with an RCA, or they come with the really grody clips. I mean, this is getting old school. This is getting like kind of first gen, second gen stuff, where it's the little metal U's that you have to screw into the back of your TV. Yes, oh god, the backtracking in this game is a fucking nightmare. I'm so glad. So I'm going to just show this. I showed it in the video, I'm going to show it here. This is the thing that makes, like, if you're like, I should play Epic Mickey again. What version should I play? Right here. This makes it all worthwhile. Would you like to skip the film strip and go directly to Main Street? It's only 10 e-tickets. Oh my god, not having to go through that fucking film strip back and forth every time is... Oh, it makes this so much better. Exactly. Like, again, lots of validity to playing the original. The atmosphere is better. There's just some meaning there. It has very much its own experience and worth playing. But good lord, is there so many just aggravating design decisions that make playing remastered the way to go. Mega Drive did S-Video as its thing. That's interesting. I'm wondering if that's just like a regulatory board decision that was made over there or something. That's a rabbit hole of research I'm not going on in a stream, but I absolutely want to go on at some point. All right, enabling the phone network. Do I remember where these power boxes are? No. We're gonna get you. I'm gonna do the power boxes. It's fine. It's fine. I kind of remember where they are. There's one under Clarabelle's house, and she gets mad that I destroy her garden. And yeah, this. Oh, and SCART. Oh my god, I forgot about SCART cables. I need to dig up a Dreamcast at some point. I was of an age for Dreamcast where I was not, buying my own consoles yet. So I never had one because, my parents were like, what do you mean you need a Dreamcast? It doesn't make any sense. You've got a PlayStation. You've got an N64. But there's always such cool stuff on... What? There's always such cool stuff on there that really holds up. I specifically want to go play that, and I know I can play it through the Capcom Fighting Collection Remastered, but Project Justice, the sequel to Rival Schools, because, man, I played just an absolute fuck ton of Rival Schools back in the day, and I would love the chance to go play that properly on the Dreamcast. Rival Schools was actually the game I would come back from school. I would go home for lunch from school, and I would bring a couple of buddies with me, and we would spend our lunch breaks, and then generally skip the period after lunch to just play Rival Schools for like 2-3 hours. Which, maybe not the best idea in retrospect for my GPA or whatever. But you know, it was good times. I relish those memories. He's not there anymore. It's fine. Was Lineage? I feel like I think you're absolutely right that that was a Dreamcast game. I'm trying to remember though if that was an exclusive though. If that was on other things, I feel like that might have gotten a PlayStation release as well. Because that was the weird thing about the Dreamcast is despite technically, in a performance sense, being a 6th gen system, it because of when it released, it mostly had like 6th gen games and ports for it. It had PlayStation games on it rather than PlayStation 2 games for the most part. So it had such a weird library. Yes. I'll have to make a junk, which I do think looks better in this game. Just because, as I mentioned, like there's a lot of little embellishments they were able to do as far as what they could add, just because they clearly have more poly count to work with. And this is probably one of the levels that benefits from it the most, just because there's so many more little references they can slip in. We're just gonna. Oh. Funnily enough, I could swear the steamroller moves faster in the original version because they use that to lock off a reel from you. A reel I've apparently already gone. But yeah, this is definitely the way to play it, especially when it's cheap. I think even during the Steam sale just now, it was pretty cheap. Whoop. I want to say it was only like, I think it might have been, again, like $20 or something like that. It was definitely on the lower side. Take your time. You can finish that video when you get to it. It's 2 hours. I get it. And I'm well aware that a large portion of people watch my videos in quotation marks because they're using them to go to sleep. I see all the playlists my stuff gets added to, and half of them are, sleep videos, good videos for sleep, video essays to fall asleep to. So I'm well aware people are watching like half the video and then passing the fuck out. Oh, the 360. I know, not the majority of my gaming time was on the 360, but certainly a lot of it. You can just see it from the games I've covered in my catalog, but I have such a fondness for that era. It's that perfect middle ground between HD era, where, things are getting complex and big and grander things are happening, but, man, it is also just, like, still got the mentality of we can do weird things from the PS2. Again, don't feel bad if you're a person falling asleep in my videos. That's absolutely intentional. Let me take a look. So, obviously the levels that are in black and white are in black and white, but let's take a look. So something I actually didn't mention in the review is one thing that it does have is costumes. You can unlock this with some costumes, and there's then some you can buy. But as for filters, game settings, graphics, no. Nothing in there, though I know the photo mode does have a number of filters. So if you're the kind of person who digs a photo mode, fill your boots. What am I playing this on? I am indeed playing this on. So I'm playing this on a 8-bit Do Ultimate 2. Yes, Ultimate 2. That's my PC controller of choice these days. Mostly just because I like the charging cradle. I love being able to just pick up a controller. It's on. Put down the controller. It's turned off. It's a super stupid minor thing, but that really does a lot for me. The fact that I never have to worry about the controller being charged. Yeah, I remember Epic Mickey 2, like this game already didn't review amazing, but then Epic Mickey 2 definitely did not do much better. I've played Not a ton of it, but I also remember being kind of let down by it. And I do think a lot of people did have their first experience with that just because it was, it was on more platforms. It had more of a chance to actually get in front of people. Oh yeah, the bunny children will eat splatters. I forgot about that. But then if we get the splatter into being friendly, he will eventually go watch the TV with the bunny children, which I always enjoy. Well, they still eat them. Fun. But yeah, I mean, benefit of being PC is, whatever controllers you want work. I mean, so much. You missed when we were talking about it earlier, but when that Disney shakeup happened and they kind of got rid of Disney Interactive, so many things got canceled. So to answer your question earlier about are they still using the proper cartridges, they are indeed. That is absolutely Magical Quest for the SNES, represented pretty well, pretty clearly. Green version. I just went for the black one, but I do really like the custom lighting. So I've got this. I'm a big fan of like a nice deep red underlight on my controller, something that's not too glaring but enough to let me know that it's on. And I've got that coming out of both the sticks. There we go. Okay, the other one's on the other side. Yeah, they really do a lot in this level. Just, again, the little touches, and they're so much clearer in this version. Something I did not notice. It is in the Wii version, but it's not nearly as clear. Is that the ground texture has, like... Let's see if I can find a good example of it. You can see a little bit of it right there. Has Mickey stuff in it. It's more clear in the Wii version, I actually want to say. I think it's more prominent. But there is, like, little bits of toys and things in there. Yes, we talked about that as well. The whole way they changed the morality system out for the Guardian system is such a... I know it's because Warren Spector apparently thinks that the Guardians make more sense, but getting rid of Scrapper Mickey, getting rid of Bestial Mickey, and all that stuff, if he was doing more thinning, was just such a cool idea. It's such a pity that they didn't actually go with that. What are we looking at there? 5112? There's also the code the phone told me to put in, but I don't remember what it is. One of these... Oh, do I have to put number in? I probably have to do. Pound 5 112, right? I'm not stupid. Yeah. Is that not doing anything? Or maybe I already did it. Okay, let's try 349 then. These will change things in the level. There we go. That one wants to work. Yeah, that's how you get that chest. Yeah, the designs were great, but also just the concept, like this whole idea that Mickey is not just in a strange world, but he has been actively changed by it. It's why he is leaking blood at all times. Showing that taken effect would have done so much more for the concept of this game. Showing him either using that to, kind of like push past it or get grosser would have been so much better. Oh, it absolutely did. You don't even have to pretend that. Like, this is, story-wise, he's quite literally reading through the looking glass in the opening cutscene. This game is absolutely riffing off of Alice, and knowing the designers involved, knowing kind of some of the story of how this game was ideated, those interns in 2003 creating the concepts behind this game, like, Alice is out by that point. This is absolutely, in no small part, inspired by American McGee's Alice. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised, because I don't know if they ever worked together, but they certainly ran in similar circles. American McGee and Warren Spector likely have talked at some point in the past. I would not be shocked to hear that they perhaps talked about this game. That is absolute speculation, because again, I don't think they've ever worked together. But they both have id connections. Obviously Warren Spector went to Ion Storm with John Romero, but then American McGee was at id with Romero working on Doom. So there's enough between them that there's no way they have not communicated likely at some point, and I have to imagine potentially did around this game. Yeah, I know he's currently working on a spiritual sequel. Penny Dreadful, I think it's called. He's doing like a plushie line for it right now, which is kind of meant to like stoke the fires, with the idea being that he would eventually make a sequel of sorts. But yeah, it's a real pity we never got the proper Alice Asylum, I believe it was called, the third game. Especially because Madness Returns is totally good. Like, it's totally decent. I don't know if I would say it's as good as the original, and it has its issues. There are some very 7th gen things about Madness Returns. I think specifically, like, the inclusion of those side shooter levels and stuff that don't necessarily age well, but it's not bad. Will he ever resurrect his scrapped Wizard of Oz game? That's another thing where I bet I would love to see that. I have a feeling, just from everything I've seen from American McGee, because I've looked at his social every now and again. I've read a couple things by him. He seems completely done, just completely done with anything corporate, any IPs he has to work with. Like, he has just such a bad taste in his mouth at this point for that. And I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe Wizard of Oz is in, no, it is in the public domain at this point, because otherwise Wicked couldn't exist. So, man, maybe he could. It's just whether he could get the funding for it at this point. Yeah, so far I read a comment from him recently on social saying that he was joking that it was going to be a way, like, that the plush brand is kind of his entry into getting people interested to make it into a video game. But he was probably more speaking facetiously. But who knows? You absolutely never know with that sort of stuff. He could absolutely come out of nowhere at some point and surprise us. Be cool if he did. Okay, so it is in the public domain. Yeah, it's just a matter of whether he could get the funding together for it. Because obviously, I mean, that's what made Asylum. That and IP rights with EA, I guess, made that fall apart. So, you know, it's possible. I would love to see it, because I think that is a world rife for more exploration in this kind of style, the Epic Mickey Alice Madness Returns kind of style. And there's been a couple of things. I want to say there was an RPG, like a JRPG at some point, that kind of played around with a not quite full on like super dour dark Wizard of Oz, but certainly a slightly darker take on Wizard of Oz. Can't remember the name of it. I think it was on the DS. Oh yeah, most things do. I mean, as I mentioned in the video, Oswald is now in the public domain, along with a bunch of the shorts that Disney traded a live human being for, which I still think is hilarious. And yeah, lots of movies and music is now kind of like stuff that actually like people care about, that people might recommend, that people might remember, is starting to enter the public domain more and more. I know, like, the same time Oswald went to public domain, the movie Metropolis, which if you're a cinema nerd, you will know, entered public domain at the same time. That's like, it is essentially the first sci-fi movie. No, I don't think there's enough, sad to say, I don't think there's enough people who care about Oswald to make a, we're being too edgy horror film for him. But what he is getting is, and this is not a public domain thing, this is Disney doing it. I know they're planning to make like a live action series, kind of similar to that awful Rescue Rangers movie they did not too long ago, the Chip and Dale one, focused on Oswald. I know I think they're in production for that now. And I know they've been at California Adventure. They've been adding a bunch of Oswald like stuff in there to kind of put more Oswald theming in. They are slowly trying to kind of integrate more Oswald into what they are doing. Yeah, I can see that. Kind of got that. I mean, funnily enough, we are the exact opposite of rock bottom. We are climbing a mountain. But it's got a little bit of that. Down the rabbit hole. It might even be that I'm thinking of. I have watched it once. It is, Metropolis is a weird watch, because as I recall, like, it's a silent film, and it's very, it's a silent film in a way that is really taking advantage of that silence. It's very, very abstract. And that works for it, but if it's the sort of thing where if you're not paying, like, full attention, if you are not giving it your whole ass in watching it, it is... Yeah, that's the one with the robot in black and white. It is hard to kind of get what the hell is going on. It's worth sitting down and watching, but it's absolutely the sort of movie you have to sit down and watch. That is not, I'm going to throw it on in the background and get the vibe of it. You have to put it on the big TV, turn off the lights, sit down and watch it. And I'm still not going to say, even in doing that it's like amazing, but it is interesting. And just, again, from a film history point of view, it is fascinating. There we go. Yeah, and there's more stuff like that coming public domain, more and more these days. So easy enough to find that one. And that Metropolis is the sort of movie you could absolutely go on like Tubi or something at this point and find, just because it's now free. Oh yes, I do love the music in this level as well. That little snippet of the Mickey Mouse March. It's just perfectly subtle. Oh, yeah. I mean, BioShock is a pastiche of Art Deco in all of its forms. So you've got some Metropolis, absolutely, especially some of the bits near the end of the game, Hephaestus Forge or whatever it's called, that part of the game. Lots of heavy Metropolis vibes from that. But it's also just like a lot of the architectural works from the time. There is a French poster designer from the 30s, whose name I am absolutely blanking on because I am not an art history guy, who is basically one of the big inspirations for the Art Deco movement. And there is so much art in BioShock and design in BioShock that's very much pulling from that. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's its own story of... Copyright used to be like 25 years, I want to say? 25 or 50 years. It was something relatively reasonable. And then it was Disney's lobbying that made it the life of the author plus however many years. And they kept fighting to extend it, all for Mickey Mouse, because they knew that Mickey Mouse's day was coming. Which, when you put that together with what we've talked about, them putting Mickey on a pedestal and not using him in any real capacity for several years, kind of only makes all of this more fucked up. Guy has this one audio logging. No. When I say the artist, I mean like a real artist. There is a real artist in who pushed the Art Deco style in that way. Though I'm sure that Pierre character and probably a reference to them. I do love the audio logs in BioShock, kind of just giving that much world building. Life of the author plus 50, yeah. Oh, that's weird. Because of the lighting, I'm painting guys, but they look like they've been thinned because of the way the lighting is working. That's curious. Yeah, now it's plus 75. It's fucked up regardless. It's too much. And God knows they're happy to apply it vigorously. Even to stuff like this. Like, I had the... you might have noticed I used a lot more jazz than I might normally use in my the Epic Mickey video than I normally would. That's because a lot of the tracks from this game got caught up by their copyright, and I had to quickly change those out. Yeah, it's the weird rivalry thing about BioShock 1 and 2, and Ken Levine and his team not necessarily being appreciative of the other team having their own take with BioShock 2 and all of that. And then how that affects BioShock Infinite and the Bureau as well, because as we talked about, that's those two teams interacting is just... It's kind of sad, because if they had worked together, if there was a little bit less... I mean, I can understand, it's their baby. They don't want to let another team kind of dictate it. But, if there was a little bit more cooperation there, I feel like all of those projects could have had a little bit better futures. The real thing I think he should be pissed about is, and I think he is the book. The BioShock novel is That's dramatically more egregious than the sequel. It's not bad, but it is also very much like you can tell the author is happy to be getting a proper IP to play with. He is there's a lot of people getting a sinking feeling in that book. Lots of like references to this guy's wet behind the ears. It's like we get it. It's underwater. Yep, there's a Bioshock. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a Bioshock novel, and it's mediocre. Yeah, Infinite is a weird game. It's a game I appreciated at the time, but after playing the DLC, and then every time I've played it a couple times since, and every time I've played it since, I think less and less of it. There's some gameplay ideas in it I still like, but yeah, just a lot of the story stuff is very... It's very messy, it's very on the nose. I agree that the racism angle is not handled well. Yes, Catch Booker. I am glad she's not an escort quest, but at the same time, I feel like Elizabeth, as in a gameplay sense, is not necessarily handled fantastically. It's just a lot of yeah. It's absolutely that kind of book. The town is silent and its residents are evil. It is cringe-inducing. But it does at least if you are the sort of person who liked all the logs, all of the audio logs in BioShock, it is worth reading for that, because it fleshes out a lot of those characters. One of the main point of view characters in that is the engineer, the Scottish engineer guy they bring in. And they do a lot with him that I think is fascinating. But then that's balanced out by, again, the sinking feeling and the fact that you learn the reason that... God, this is the dumbest fucking thing, but I love it. The reason that Rapture can withstand the pressures of the ocean around it is because the buildings are not made with steel. They're made with a special alloy called rhyanium, which is just... like... I really hope an editor looked at that and just had their head in their hands, looked at the author and just said, fine, I don't have anything better, we'll run with it. But yeah, still an interesting read if you like the world of BioShock 1. Right, we get that stupid pickaxe. How do I do that again? Over here. Oh, for Infinite not having anything finished, I wouldn't be surprised knowing how much that game went through so many revisions. I mean, obviously we all saw the initial reveal trailer and then how different that looked compared to the final version, but even beyond that, like, it's clear between them working on Infinite and teams getting shuffled due to stuff that was going on internally at 2K, that game just torn apart and put back together several times. Maybe that's a video at one point. But if I'm going to do that, I would treat myself by getting to play BioShock 1 first. Next game for the channel, there will be a coming soon video, probably Monday, it might be Tuesday, we're going to see. And you guys will get to pick. The games in that coming soon are going to be, let me remember now, Devil's Hunt, which is a indie-made character action game that didn't succeed, that came out a few years ago. What else is in that list? Devil's Hunt, Medal of Honor 2010, the reboot of Medal of Honor, Syndicate 2012, the reboot of Syndicate, and Dark Void, and then Splatterhouse and Stranglehold from the last video, because we always do the runners-up from last time get looped in. So it'll be those 6, and then yeah, you guys get to vote, pick what wins. And I will work on whatever succeeds. Yeah, it's yeah, PS3 Splatterhouse. Well, I'm going to be playing the 360 version, but yeah. And yeah, that Medal of Honor, that is a game I know very little about, and that's kind of why I want to play it. It's just kind of fascinating to me, frankly, that they decided to reboot Medal of Honor And I kind of don't know why. Like, they already had the Battlefield series going. They, you know, it was just them kind of wanting to double dip into the military shooter niche. But yeah, that Splatterhouse, I've played through it before. It's a lot of fun. It's just much like Inversion before it, which is, you know, same publisher, so it makes sense. The the fact that it was so long in development shows. It's there's a lot of kind of jank animations. There's a lot of stuff where it's like they clearly have rebuilt some of this stuff multiple times, and it's clearly didn't even want to put it out. Like, they very just kind of like shunted that game out the door, just like, oh god, plays. Hopefully nobody plays it. Yeah, it's a fun. I like parts. I like a lot of that Splatterhouse game though. It's got a lot of character to it. It's doing a old school horror thing in a way I feel that is a lot more interesting than a lot of other games that tried to do that did. But yeah, we'll see what wins. It might. I mean, it didn't get through last time. It might get through this time. Who knows? I know there's a lot of people who've been asking me for Dark Void over the years, so I wouldn't be surprised if that wins. That's the fun of the vote. Though we will be making a much tighter vote this time. I think I let people vote for 2 weeks last time. I'm gonna cut it off in a week this time because, like I said, I'm gonna try to make videos faster and more often. So I need to get that vote done so I can start work on the next one and kind of get it moving right away. Not that the quality's gonna go down, but just, you know, I have more time. If Inversion didn't have its twist, I would have no positive memories of it. But that twist makes that game really stick out for me. That's really silly that that's how that works. That you have to pay a higher sub for the PlayStation. This is why I've, like, again, I said earlier, I did not buy a PS5. I'm not planning to get a Series whatever either, but, like, I didn't get a PS5 because a lot of the PlayStation Plus stuff just seems kind of gross to me. I'm not going to go down there because it requires thinner stuff, but if you go down here, there is a whole cool, like, small miniature recreation of Disney World that Oswald has built that you can go destroy, which is a really neat thing. But yeah, I'm not going to go do that because that requires you to do a bunch of thinner stuff, and we're doing a paint run. Oh, the multiplayer mode. Yeah, so that stuff, the multiplayer mode for Infinite is such a, like, obviously, like, it didn't happen, obviously, but just the development of that is such a weird thing. And then all that got repurposed into that, the DLC they put out for it. It's like a Horde mode. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head. But yeah, it just felt so, like, out of the blue. Like, such a weird thing to add to that game of, like, why did you make a Horde mode for BioShock? Oh, right, we gotta actually start it up. I do really like this challenge section here where you're playing through shorts of Oswald's history. I think that's a good way to introduce Oswald's kind of history to new people who might otherwise not have played it. Especially because otherwise you wouldn't really have seen these shorts. I mean, they're all still in the vault at this point. Now you can watch them on Disney Plus at the very least, but, like, you know, at the time this came out, you weren't seeing any of it. With the exception of Oh What a Night, which is actually in this game at the very least. Oh yeah, it's just a shipping yard. Yeah, it's again, that whole DLC was just, funnily enough, kind of like the one for the Bureau. Kind of just feels like 2K saying, what extra can we put out? We need to have DLC for this. It's on the it's on the finance chart that we're going to have continuing content for this particular game. I believe there's one. No, just more tickets. Yeah, instead we got the DLC we got off the main game is all the, the Beyond the Sea stuff, which I have such mixed feelings about the Beyond the Sea DLCs for Infinite. It's interesting to see Rapture again. I like some of the noir vibe of it. But yeah, it's just, narratively, it does some really weird things. Burial at Sea, thank you. Yeah, it's, narratively does some really weird things. I don't love a lot of the level design, necessarily. Like, that whole fucking mall at the end of episode 1 sucks. And then most of Burial at Sea 2. There's like one part of Burial at Sea 2 that I enjoy, I think is interesting, which is the Ryan school, the school for kids. I think that's an interesting bit of world building, but like the rest of it is just kind of ugh. Yeah, he really didn't. It definitely does not feel like the Rapture we knew, which I guess theoretically it's not based on the way Infinite's lore works, but in my opinion, Infinite's lore doesn't work, so whatever. Yeah, I don't like that either, because yeah, none of those are expansions. They are DLCs. Like there's a firm definition there in my mind that I feel a lot of companies play very loose with in their marketing. Fast and loose within their marketing, yeah. Especially when it comes to season passes. Oh yeah, we've got multiple expansions coming this season pass, and then it's like they're including like a costume pack in that or something, and it's like, this isn't what you sold me. You sold me content. This is a costume for the content. It's funny, I mentioned the whole Little Big Planet thing earlier. You can still see that a little bit. Like, the assets are better here, obviously, but, like, if you look at the lion there, if you look at these gators, like, they're flat. They're carved, they almost look like they're carved out of, like, a block of polygon. It's just very strange. He really was just retconning the absolute shit out of it, too, which, again, like, it's disappointing, because collaborative storytelling is a thing. Oh, Borderlands pre-sequel, yeah. I'm assuming you mean that for the content? Yeah, I mean, Borderlands DLC in general has been kind of a shit show for a while. Not that I've been a huge Borderlands fan. I played 2. I played some of 2. I played through 3, which I didn't hate. And I played some of 4, but yeah, all the DLC I've skipped out from. Yeah, that's the idea. So the opening half takes place in Rapture, Burial at Sea. The opening, quarter, technically, if we're talking about both DLCs. The back half takes place in the shopping complex that they repurposed into a prison for some reason, which is dumb, considering... And I know it was all to retcon Bioshock 2, but, like, there is a prison in Bioshock 2. You could have just used that. But, yeah. And then 2, the second part of Burial at Sea, takes place half in a chunk of Rapture that Scan got. I think that still might even be in that shopping mall. I don't remember. And then some in Concordia? Cascadia? Whatever the fuck the Bioshock Infinite city is called. I've blacked a bunch of that out of my memory, apparently. Yeah, bad fan fiction is a good way to put it. Columbia, thank you. And yes, that does make sense with the American exceptionalism theme. I should have, yeah. It's half in the shopping complex, but you then travel to Columbia a little bit for some of that. There's a bunch of back and forth of stupid multidimensional nonsense because they loved the hell out of that. It's not good. I mean, that's the bottom line, is neither of them are good. The worst part, too, with Burial at Sea is Burial at Sea felt petty, I guess, for lack of a better term. It felt bitter. Bitter is a better word for it. Burial at Sea Part 2 felt bitter because the studio was getting closed down right around that time, and they likely knew about that going into it. So there's a vibe to Burial at Sea Episode 2 that just kind of reflects that in my mind. For better or for worse. Maybe I remember the Columbia section of that being more than it was. But yeah, the vast majority of it is still in that shopping complex. This would be so much better if they had voice acting. Reiterate the comment from earlier. Man, not having voice acting in this was such a missed opportunity. Yes. Oh, yes. That's always been the... So... It wasn't when people were making NSFW content that he said that. The problem was he baited that. He said ahead of time that, you know, she's like a daughter to me. I really don't want, you know, I really don't want people making any, you know, people, like, someone had said to him, yeah, she's very attractive to me. He's like, don't say that. She's like a daughter to me. You can't say she's attractive or anything like that. And that was basically the internet saw that and said, oh, really? We can't sexualize her, eh? Hold my beer. But then, yeah, then he makes her a femme fatale and kind of plays into that. It's all very strange. Yes, absolutely. I am much more appreciative when a developer makes their waifu and owns up to it. Like, I know Yoko Taro has said that about 2B from Nier. It's like, why does she look like that? And he's like, because I think it's hot. And it's like, cool. I appreciate the honesty. Your creation, you can do what you want. All right, well, that's Mickey Junk done. We're at about 2 hours, and it's getting time for me to go order dinner. So I think I'm probably going to wrap things up right around here. Thanks for coming out and joining the stream. I'm not going to lie. I make long-form content. My expectation when I said I'm going to do a stream was that literally no one would come out. So to have so many people here and like be here consistently has been awesome. It's been fantastic to chat with all of you. Looking forward to doing this next week. I have no idea what we're going to play next week. Might depend a little bit on how the vote is going, because the Coming Soon will be up by then. So vote will be going on. Maybe depending on kind of what's doing well, I'll play something related. And, yeah. Pinball. I mean, if you want me to play pinball, play pinball. That's not a hard sell. You don't have to bend my arm. So maybe we'll do pinball. Yeah. But it'll probably be next week. I might do it a little bit earlier because I was trying to find a good balance for time zones. I know I've got some supporters in Australia who couldn't make this one because it was out of their time zone. So yeah, we'll maybe I'll dig up a few different pinball games. That way I can make better use of my break screen, so we can swap between them. But yeah, we'll do that next week. I'll schedule that some point after I get the Coming Soon live. Anyways, thanks for joining me, everybody. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, and yeah, see you later. Have a good one. Bye.